Exposed, how one billionaire's heartwarming act transformed a poor single mother's life forever. The sound echoed like thunder. Ella's world, a tender mother's heart striving against all odds in a bustling Chicago neighborhood teetering on the brink of despair. Every day was a battle, juggling school runs, late shifts as a waitress, and the pressure of overdue bills. Yet Ella wore her struggles with pride, pushing through for her 2 kids, their laughter her lifeline amidst the chaos. Students from her past were now donning suits and boasting of success while her dreams felt like faded photos pinned on a wall she couldn't reach. But that winter evening, as she nurtured an elderly neighbor lost in debt convolutions, hope flickered. Jack Reynolds, the billionaire, watched quietly. The contrast between them seemed like night and day, wealth glistening in his designer coat while Ella wrapped her love around her children like a worn blanket. She offered not just help, but genuine warmth, a sparkle that had been dulled by the weight of survival. Jack remembered the nights of his own humble beginnings, laughter with friends melting into costly dreams. This glimpse of Ella's generosity struck him to the bone. He moved then, not as Jack the billionaire but as a man wanting to do something good for a woman who slaved for her family. Suddenly, Ella received an anonymous gift: groceries, bills paid, all shrouded in secrecy. Her heart twisted in confusion. Gratefulness bubbled inside her, yet resentment festered. A fighter she prided herself on being, she resented the feeling of charity washing over her independent spirit. With every muted box of cereal and donated soup, her pride felt bruised, like a balloon slowly deflating with every thank you she couldn't quite muster. A sense of turmoil washed over the community. Speculation about Ella's increased luck whispered through houses like wild wind. She felt eyes on her that night as she walked through the local grocery store, each checkout scan echoing with pressure and judgment. Was she the subject of envy or pity? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Every week brought new demands, and the unseen helping hand drove her deeper into doubt. How could she accept this kindness when her community needed a warrior, not a charity case? As she confronted the twisted ethics of unearned privilege, walls built around her heart began to crumble. Ella found herself grappling with vulnerability for the first time. It became a strange companion. This was not weakness, it was life's truth pulling her into the light. Just when a whisper of acceptance trickled in, she stumbled upon the truth behind Jack's identity in her life. With a clang echoing through her heart, she pieced together the puzzle laid out before her. The shock left her breathless, teetering at the edge of a decision that could alter everything she believed. Would she push away this complex kindness, or mold her principles to embrace help amid a tapestry of love and infallible spirit? As the dark night enveloped them, warriors beneath the streetlights beckoned them closer, igniting a fire of uncertainty and courage. The following days crept by like shadows in the cold, each minute a test of Ella's resolve. Her mind was a storm, swirling with the revelation of Jack's hidden kindness and unexpected twist on an unwritten story. She tossed and turned at night, crushed between gratitude and pride. The warmth of fresh groceries in her kitchen clashed with the harsh chill of her sinking spirit. Was this how it felt to be on the receiving end of unasked for charity? Then came the day she bumped into Jack at the local cafe. The moment their eyes locked, her heart raced, and she nearly tripped over her own feet. He stood there, the rich aroma of coffee mingling with confusion and concern etched into his brows. There was no hiding the truth now, both felt the charged air between them. Ella, he started softly, his voice steady as if he had rehearsed this moment. I've seen how hard you fight for your family. I just wanted to help. Ella's chest clenched. His words rattled like a pinball in her head. It wasn't help she needed, it was an ally, a shoulder. Help? she repeated, anger creeping into her tone. This isn't help, Jack. This is you handing out charity like it's South candy after the parade. He shifted slightly, his expression solemn. I can understand why you feel that way, but my intentions are genuine. I see you working hard every day. Ella felt the sting of his gaze intense, probing. I didn't ask for your money. I didn't ask for anything. She felt indignation swell inside her, a protective wall against the vulnerability creeping in like fog. For a moment, silence enveloped them. The bustle of the cafe faded away, leaving them in a bubble of raw emotions. Jack took a step forward, earnestness flooding his expression. I don't want you to feel like you owe me anything. I just couldn't stand by and watch someone with such a big heart struggle. Through her anger, Ella heard the sincerity. Yet, a part of her rebelled violently against acceptance. She had built everything she owned through sweat and tears. And what about those who truly need help, Jack? What happens when your acts of kindness make me feel that much smaller? He had no answer. For the first time, Jack looked young and burdened, unsure of how to navigate the labyrinth of her pain. Ella felt a twinge of sympathy but quickly pushed it away. She couldn't let him in, she wouldn't, her pride a fortress around her heart. We're not so different, Ella, Jack finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. We both fight for better lives. You're brave. Don't let stubbornness keep you from accepting support when it's offered. Let me help, let me be there. Hearing him say this ignited a tussle within her chest. Was it brave? Or was it foolish to turn away? Ella took a deep breath, summoning the courage to voice her truth. I need to think, Jack. I can't just open my life to you or anyone like that. With those words, she turned to leave, heart pounding. There was something significant in his offer, but the weight of acceptance felt like a steep cliff she wasn't ready to climb. As she walked away, determination collided with reluctance. She was a warrior, yes, but could a warrior allow herself to be vulnerable? And so she steeled her mind for another challenge, knowing Jack wouldn't just let her slip away easily. The next day, as she prepared to face the world again, a knock at her door shook her resolve. An envelope lay waiting inside, a note written in familiar, bold handwriting. It read, Life is about connections. Please, let us talk one last time. With her heart racing again, she cradled the note tightly in her palm. Would she finally confront her fears, or would she risk losing a chance at a new beginning with Jack? The question lingered in the air, heavy and unresolved. The layers of their story were just beginning to unfold, and the next chapter promised turbulence and unexpected revelations. Ella stood frozen at the door, her breath hitching in her throat. The note felt like a lifeline, but also an anchor, tethering her to the tumult of her emotions. She could almost hear Jack's voice in her ear, urging her to let go of her reservations and reach for the connections that could lift her. But could she really do it? Let Jack in? She paced the small living room, fingers tracing the edge of the note, weighing her options like stones on a scale. Accepting help felt like surrendering. The very thought propelled her back to a memory, a time when she thought asking for help was a sign of weakness, a belief that had been ingrained from childhood. But then another voice nudged her, the thought of what Jack could bring into her life pushed through the thick walls of her defenses. He was genuine. She had seen it in his eyes, his actions, the way he made her feel seen in a world that often overlooked her struggle. Ella slid to the floor, note clutched tightly in her hands. The walls felt like they were closing in as doubts clawed at the edges of her resolve. What would this mean for her? For her kids? Would accepting his help mean taking a step back from the independence she had fought so hard to maintain? Time slipped away as she wrestled with her thoughts. Outside, the neighborhood bustled with life, kids laughing, parents chatting, the distant sounds of hammers and saws from houses being repaired or renovated. Life moved on, oblivious to her inner turmoil. After a moment that felt like an eternity, determination surged within her. She pulled herself up and marched to the window. The afternoon sun cast a warm glow over the street, illuminating the shadows of doubt resting in her heart. Ella's resolve solidified. She talked to Jack. She needed to confront this feeling, this potential connection head-on. With a deep breath, she turned on her heel and headed for her phone. She would call him. Just as she picked up the device, a sudden knock at her door jolted her. Heart racing, she opened it to find Jack standing there, hands in pockets, looking effortlessly handsome and approachable. The sincerity in his eyes made her heart flutter, but she quickly masked it with her usual demeanor. "Hey, Ella," he said, a nervous smile playing on his lips. "I figured I'd drop by, see if you got my note." Her heartbeat quickened as she stepped aside to let him in. "I did," she replied, but couldn't find the right words to continue. The tension in the air crackled like static electricity. "Look, I know this is all unexpected," Jack started, his hands now out of his pockets, gesturing with open palms. "But I want to be here for you, not to impose or make you feel uncomfortable. Just to help. Whenever you're ready." Ella felt the warmth of his honesty wash over her. "I've been thinking a lot about help and pride," and she trailed off, the weight of her thoughts suddenly pressing down on her. The embarrassment of feeling vulnerable threatened to pull her back, but she stood firm. "It scares me, Jack. It really does." He took a small step closer, closing the space between them. "Then let us take it slow. Just talk. No pressure." His voice was calm, steady, an anchor in her storm. Ella bit her lip, her heart fluttering between fear and hope. "Okay," she whispered, feeling the softness of the moment settle around them like a warm blanket. As they settled onto the cozy couch, Ella looked at Jack, ready to dive into the depths of their truths. But just as she opened her mouth to speak, the sharp sound of a phone ringing cut through the comfort of the moment, unmistakably urgent. She glanced at her phone. It was the school. An emergency? A sudden wave of anxiety slashed through her resolve, reminding her of the overwhelming nature of her life. Jack's eyebrows knitted together in concern. "What is going on?" She glanced back at him, her heart racing once more. "It's the school. I need to take this." As she picked up the call, Ella couldn't shake the feeling that a new storm was brewing. Would this chaos give her clarity or lead her further away from Jack and the promise that lay before her? The call ended with more questions than answers, but one thing remained clear: life was relentless, and so was she. But now she had a choice to make, not just about Jack, but about the future she wanted to build. Would she choose connection this time, or would fear push her back into solitary struggle? Uncertainty loomed, but perhaps chaos could be the catalyst she needed to finally confront both her past and her future. Ella's heart pounded as she listened intently to the voice on the other end of the line. The school principal's words rushed over her: an incident, a child in trouble, and her name mentioned like a lifeline amid a sinking boat. "Ella, we need you here as soon as possible. I can't stress how important it is." "Okay, I'm on my way," she responded, a chill spreading through her as she hung up. Her mind raced. Trouble at school usually meant trouble for her kids, and that meant her work began, duties extending beyond the classroom. Turning back to Jack, his expression was a mix of concern and curiosity. "What happened?" he asked softly, taking a step closer. "They need me at the school," Ella said, her voice shaky. "Something's gone wrong." Jack nodded, and there was no misunderstanding the gravity of the situation. "Do you want me to come with you?" The offer caught her off guard. "You don't have to." "I want to," he interrupted gently, his sincerity cutting through the chaos in her mind. Ella hesitated, then nodded slowly. She had been so solitary for so long, the idea of sharing this burden felt strange and frightening. But maybe that was exactly what she needed. Moments later, they were both in Jack's truck, the engine rumbling to life as he guided her through the streets. Ella barely registered the passing scenery, her thoughts consumed with worries about her children. What had happened? Why hadn't anyone explained? The silence was heavy, but the warmth from Jack's presence added a layer of comfort. She stole a glance at him focused on the road ahead, determination set in his jaw. This was no ordinary man. The doubts that had clung to her began to loosen their grip. "Why did you really come over today?" She blurted out, breaking the silence, unable to hold back the query that flashed through her mind. Jack turned his head slightly, meeting her gaze. "Because I care. I'm not just here to help. I want to be part of your life, Ella, if you'll let me." His earnestness struck a chord within her. Care and concern felt foreign yet intoxicating, unraveling knots inside. "It's complicated," she replied, her defenses still half-heartedly rising. "Life's complicated," Jack said, chuckling softly. "But maybe that's what makes it worth living." As they pulled into the school parking lot, Ella felt a whirlwind of emotions crash over her. The sight of parents milling about, teachers huddled in small groups, and the visible tension in the air sent her pulse racing again. She took a deep breath, preparing herself for the unknown. "Let us figure this out together," Jack said, placing a reassuring hand on her back. It sent warmth straight through her, and for the first time, she truly believed she didn't have to navigate this storm alone. They stepped out of the truck, and as they walked through the school entrance, Ella could hear the low murmur of worried voices and the wail of a child in the distance. "Wait, who are we looking for?" Jack's voice was soft, but filled with certainty as they entered the main corridor. "Mrs. Thompson, the principal," Ella said, pushing through the crowd. Just then, another child burst into view, tears streaming down his face. She knelt down, instinctively reaching out to comfort him. "What's wrong, buddy? Are you okay? Sam's in trouble. They think he did something bad," the boy sobbed. Ella felt her heart drop. "Wait," Jack said, kneeling beside her. "What did Sam do?" The fear on the child's face mirrored her own, flooding Ella's vision with panic. "I don't know," she admitted, grimacing. "But we're going to find out," she promised, a newfound determination sparking within her. The chaos was growing louder, and just as they rounded the corner, Ella's breath hitched. What they found waiting for them would change everything. Could this incident redefine her journey, drawing her closer to Jack or pulling them apart? The sight that met Ella and Jack was jarring. There, in the center of the bustling hallway, stood Mrs. Thompson, her usually composed demeanor frayed. She was surrounded by a small entourage of teachers and anxious parents, their faces grim. "Ella!" Mrs. Thompson called, spotting her immediately. The principal's voice cut through the din, and with a wave of her hand, she ushered them closer. "What's going on?" Ella asked, unable to mask the tremor in her voice. "Sam has been accused of doing something serious," Mrs. Thompson replied, her brow creased in worry. "We still don't know all the details, but I need your help to sort this out." At the mention of Sam, Ella felt the full force of a mother's instinct kick in. She needed to protect her son, to defend him against whatever accusations were swirling through the school. The thought made her stomach knot. "I thought he was just having a rough day," she murmured, more to herself than to anyone else. Jack stood close by, his presence steadied her, giving her the strength not to crumble. She took a deep breath. "Can we talk to him?" Ella asked, glancing around, searching desperately for Sam. Mrs. Thompson nodded, leading them down the hall toward a small office. "He's been taken to the nurse's office. I'll tell you more on the way." As they moved, Ella's heart raced. Sam lived for soccer. He was a good kid and never made trouble. The thought of him being in trouble made her heart palpitate. "What happened?" She pressed, unable to restrain the fear creeping into her voice. "There was a misunderstanding during recess," Mrs. Thompson explained, her voice low and careful. "Some kids were playing with a ball, and apparently, Sam accidentally kicked it too hard, breaking a window. The teacher thought he did it on purpose." Ella's chest squeezed tight. He would never do that. It was an accident. She felt the heat rise in her face, frustration spilling out. I understand, but the other children are saying different things, Mrs. Thompson replied. And it's escalated. We need to handle this delicately. Jack took a step forward, his voice calm and even. Let us hear what Sam has to say. We can't assume he is guilty based just on what others say. Ella looked at Jack, surprised by his support. He was standing by her side, ready to defend her son. This was new, this was different from what she was used to. They reached the nurse's office, where the sight of Sam sitting on the cot, his head bent and eyes glazed, caught her breath. She rushed to him, kneeling by his side. Sam, honey, are you okay? She asked, brushing his hair back, heart aching at the sight of him so small and vulnerable. I didn't mean to, he whispered, tears spilling from his eyes. I just wanted to play. Ella's heart fractured. She took his hand, squeezing it tight. I know, baby. We're going to figure this out. Just breathe. Jack knelt beside them, offering Sam a warm, reassuring smile. You're not alone in this, Sam. We're going to help you. Just tell us what really happened, and we'll make sure everyone understands. A flicker of hope danced in Sam's eyes, as if Jack's words opened a door inside him. Okay, he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. But just as they began to settle into that moment, a loud knock broke the stillness. The door swung open to reveal a familiar figure, a tall man in a sharp suit. It was the school board chairman. Mrs. Thompson, we need to discuss this incident further, he said, his tone hollow yet commanding. Ella's stomach dropped. This wasn't just about Sam anymore, they were delving into murky waters. She glanced at Jack, his expression shifting to something sharper, concern overlapping with determination. What was about to unfold could redefine everything. Would they be able to get to the bottom of this and save Sam? Or would they uncover darker truths that left them reeling? Ella felt the weight of the chairman's gaze bear down on her like a storm cloud. She knew, instinctively, this man was there to assert control, authority teetered delicately on his shoulders. The air thickened, charged with tension, as Mrs. Thompson stepped aside to let him enter. Mr. Jacobs, she acknowledged, her voice steady but laced with uncertainty. Ella's chest tightened. They'd seen this man at school board meetings. His decisions could rip apart the comfortable routine they all relied on. Isn't it a little troubling, he continued, his eyes shifting from Mrs. Thompson to Sam, that a student has allegedly caused damage to school property and during playtime, of all things? We must uphold the school's integrity. Each word dripped with authority, and Ella's heart raced. Wait just a second, Jack interjected, rising to his feet. The protective instinct in his voice caught Ella off guard. Sam didn't mean to break anything. It was an accident. What matters is that he has to be treated fairly. Ella turned to Jack, her heart swelling with admiration. His courage was infectious, and she felt a flicker of strength from his defense of Sam. But Mr. Jacobs was not easily swayed. Accidents have consequences, Jacobs responded, the corners of his mouth twitching. What happens if a precedent is set? Other kids might get reckless, thinking they can get away with it. We have to be responsible. Ella's voice shook as she found her own courage. So you're suggesting he should be punished without knowing the full story? He's only a boy, a good boy who deserves the chance to explain. Sam shifted on the cot, glancing up at the big man looming over him. His small hand trembled in Ella's grasp. I just wanted to kick the ball. I didn't mean to do anything bad, he finally said, his voice quavering like a leaf caught in the wind. The room felt silent for a heartbeat. Ella could see the flicker of something in Mr. Jacobs' eyes. Was it a moment of uncertainty? Perhaps even a hint of empathy? But it vanished quickly, replaced by a steely resolve. I understand your concern. But we need to maintain discipline. You can see how much this incident has escalated. Ella shook her head, her heart pounding. No, we need to focus on understanding what really happened. Sam, maybe a timeout, something like that? But not punishment. Timeout? Is there a lesson here, or merely a slap on the wrist? Jacobs challenged, pinning Ella with a gaze that threatened to consume. Before Ella could respond, Jack stepped even closer, voice low but passionate. What if it's not about punishment at all? What if Sam could turn this around? Use it as a learning experience instead of suffering through some harsh consequence. Isn't that what we want for our kids? Ella's throat tightened. She could only hope Jack's words sparked some flicker of reason in the unyielding chair of authority. The room felt like it was teetering on the edge of a cliff. Ella held her breath, searching for any sign of agreement from Mr. Jacobs. But he merely frowned, dismissing Jack's proposal with a curt shake of his head. Let us not get carried away, he retorted sharply. This isn't a debate. I'm here to make sure the consequences are meted out fairly. Ella felt herself losing ground, desperation clawing at her throat. But Sam is scared, and he didn't mean to. Just then, the nurse stepped in, eyes wide. Excuse me, but I have some information that could change everything. All heads turned toward her. Ella's heart leaped into her throat. What could she possibly know that would turn the tide? They were caught in a web of inaction and fear. Would this revelation be what they so desperately needed? Or would it lead them deeper into uncertainty? Ella took a deep breath, praying for the truth. The nurse took a tentative step into the room, her hands slightly trembling. Ella's heartbeat quickened, each pulse echoing the anticipation that filled the air. She caught a glimpse of Sam's anxious face, a reflection of hope mingled with fear. Please, what is it? Mr. Jacobs sighed, clearly impatient but unable to hide the flicker of curiosity that hung in the air. The security footage, the nurse began, her voice wavering. I was just reviewing it and thought it might help clarify things. Jacobs' brows furrowed. Security footage? From the playground? Yes, she nodded slowly, it shows the entire incident. I believe it will shed light on Sam's intentions. Ella felt a wave of hope wash over her. Maybe this was it. Maybe this would finally show Mr. Jacobs that Sam wasn't a troublemaker at all. Let us see it, Jack urged, his enthusiasm palpable. Mr. Jacobs glanced at the clock, then back at the nurse. All right. Let us view this, but only for a moment. He looked annoyed, but Ella sensed a crack in his armor. With a nod, the nurse stepped back, and the group followed her to a small room where a computer screen flickered in the dim light. Tension rippled through Ella as they crowded around. She wished she could hold Sam's hand, but instead, she could only offer a supportive smile. As the video started, they could see the children playing, laughter filling the air like music. Then, in the corner of the frame, they spotted Sam. He appeared small, lost among the commotion. Ella's breath caught in her throat when she noticed the ball, bright and bouncy, rolling toward Sam like an inviting friend. In that moment, the ball was a beacon. Sam reached for it, eyes shining with the thrill of a game. But the consequences of that innocent decision unfolded fast. He kicked it with all the youthful tenacity he could muster, sending it sailing across the play area. I just wanted to kick the ball, Sam whispered, almost inaudibly, but Ella could sense his attachment to the moment captured before them. The ball arched beautifully through the air, only to pivot sharply when it struck a corner of the equipment. The unmistakable sharp sound of shattering glass echoed through the tapes as the camera caught Sam's crash, his shock morphing into panic as he saw the aftermath. Ella could see his small frame cower, shoulders shrinking, terrified eyes darting around for support. The room fell silent again. Look at him, Ella pointed out, desperation gripping her voice. He didn't purposefully break anything. He was just trying to play. Mr. Jacobs scrutinized the screen, his expression unreadable. His lips pressed together tightly, and for a moment, Ella thought she saw a hint of regret flicker across his features. Even accidents have repercussions, he started, but the nurse interrupted. But didn't he learn from this? He shows genuine remorse, Mr. Jacobs. I don't know, he hesitated, biting the inside of his cheek. Ella's heart raced again. This was their chance, she could feel it. Maybe we can find a different route for Sam? One that nurtures him instead of punishing him. Kids like him thrive on support, and they learn from guidance. But just as hope glimmered, a tightness gripped Ella's chest. Would he really listen? Or would strict measures win out in the end? The room felt suspended in time, a crucial moment locked between past and future. The seconds dragged on unbearably while Mr. Jacobs weighed their words. Finally, he sighed, the tension in the room thickening. Perhaps. Ella leaned forward, breath bated. What will it be? As she looked into Mr. Jacobs's eyes, she could see the world of possibilities brewing. Would they step forward, or would fear cause them to step back? Just then, a loud crash echoed from outside, pulling their attention away from the screen. Startled, they turned as voices erupted outside the door. What now? What had happened this time? Ella braced herself, feeling the weight of uncertainty descend once more. Would the chaos outside tip the scales, or could they steer this back toward Sam's future? They were on the brink of something important. And now they had to confront whatever lay waiting beyond that door. The chaos erupted outside: shouts, gasps, confusion. The sound of something hefty hitting the ground reverberated through the tiny room and strained their senses. Ella shot a worried glance at Sam. His wide eyes mirrored her own anxiety, sparkling with fear. Should we go check? Jack asked, his voice thin, uncertain. Yes, Mr. Jacobs snapped, irritation lacing his tone. Let us see what the commotion is. As they all made their way to the door, Ella felt her heart race. She hoped it wasn't something serious. Maybe a child had just bumped into a wall or traded a playful shove a little too fiercely. But as they stepped into the hallway, a sickening knot formed deep in her stomach. The scene before them brought a wave of dread. 3 children stood in a tight circle, faces painted with shock, and in the center lay a toppled bicycle. A girl held her bleeding knee, tears streaming down her cheeks, while another child waved her arms frantically, trying to calm her. Mommy! The injured girl wailed. Ella's pulse quickened. She rushed forward, instinctively reaching for the girl. Hey, sweetie. It's okay. I'm here. As she knelt beside the girl, a flurry of emotions clenched her heart. The fear, the pain, the chaos, it resonated deep within her. She understood that raw urgency, the need for comfort in a time of distress. Mr. Jacobs stood back, conflicted. We need to get someone. It's all right, just help her, Ella interrupted, shooting a glance over her shoulder. She needs someone. Can you grab some ice? Without hesitation, he dashed off, feeling the weight of a decision pressing down on his shoulders. Ella focused on the girl, gently wiping away her tears with the edge of her sleeve. Can you tell me what happened? The girl stammered, still shaking. I was riding and then I fell. Did anyone push you? Ella asked softly, her voice a calm embrace among the storm. No, it was an accident. She winced, trying to catch her breath. As she knelt there, comforting the girl, a fragment of clarity sparked in Ella's mind. See? She whispered. Accidents can happen to anyone. Just like Sam's. He was trying to play. The girl's shivering subsided slightly under Ella's touch, her eyes softened. Maybe this is a sign, Ella thought, knowing they were all dealing with a chaos that often marked childhood. Just as Sam had not wished any harm, neither had this girl intended to fall. Her thoughts raced back to the footage, to the pain of misunderstanding. Jack returned with ice, offering it to Ella. I got it. Is she going to be okay? Ella gave a weak smile, I think so. It's just going to take some time and care. Right, sweetheart? With a few calming words exchanged, the rescue began to unfold. Teachers arrived, ushering other children out of the crowd. The noise began to morph back into order. But as calm descended, Ella felt a sense of urgency lingering in the background. Would Mr. Jacobs reconsider his stance on Sam? Could this shared understanding turn into something transformative? The tension had melted momentarily, but shadows of doubt still loomed large. As Ella helped the girl to stand, she caught a glimpse of Mr. Jacobs observing the scene, his expression softer than before. Maybe, just maybe, they were carving out a path toward healing, not just for Sam but for everyone entangled in the chaos of childhood. Mr. Jacobs, she called out suddenly, her voice stronger than before. This could be our moment. Please listen. But before she could finish, there came another sound, a scream, high and piercing, slicing through the air, bearing the raw nerves of fear. The group turned in unison as a new wave of worry washed over them. What had happened now? Ella felt the dread settle like a heavy weight in her chest. Would she find the courage to face whatever came next? Would their journey toward understanding be derailed again? The scream echoed, cutting through the murmur of the crowd, and Ella felt her stomach drop. Her gaze shot to where the sound had come from. A few feet away, a smaller group of kids had gathered near the playground, and the sight made her blood run cold. A boy sat on the ground, clutching his arm, tears streaming down his face like a river of fear and pain. The sharpness in his voice pierced through the chaos. I can't move it. Someone help. With little hesitation, Ella sprang toward him, her instincts taking over. She knelt beside him, trying to catch his teary gaze. Hey there, buddy. Can you tell me what happened? She asked gently, determined to keep her voice steady. I fell off the monkey bars. He cried, his voice shaky. I think I broke it. At that moment, she wished desperately for the magic words that could ease his fear. The pain in his face mirrored so many moments from her own past, moments that tugged like old threads on her heart. The memories rushed in, almost overwhelming her. Okay. Just breathe. Let us take it one step at a time, she said, trying to project calmness into the air that felt too heavy with anxiety. Jack and Mr. Jacobs caught up with her, the teacher's worried expression drawing closer. Ella, we should really get someone. No. She insisted, her tone sharper than intended. He needs us right now. She turned back to the boy, her voice softening. You're going to be okay. Can you wiggle your fingers for me? He tried, but his face twisted with pain. I can't. Okay, that's all right. Just stay still. Help is coming, she reassured him. The busy sounds of the teachers ushering kids away felt like a distant echo as she concentrated solely on him. She placed a gentle hand on his knee, desperately wishing for reassurance. Jack nodded toward Mr. Jacobs, a silent question in his eyes. Should they call for help? Ella. A teacher's voice punctured the silence, coming from their left. What is going on? It's his arm. We need help, please. Ella shouted as the teacher rushed over, her face filled with urgency. Behind them, the scene in the hallway began to disperse, but not without leaving tremors of anxiety behind. Children lingered, some whispering among themselves, while a few peeked through the windows, brows furrowed in concern. Is he going to be okay? Jack asked quietly, looking at Ella, whose heart raced from the weight of uncertainty. I don't know, she admitted, the truth making her throat constrict. But we have to believe he is. Mr. Jacobs remained motionless, his eyebrows knitted together, as if wrestling with something deep within. Ella watched him, hoping this moment would spark some flicker of compassion. It was more than a boy's injury now, it was about fear, vulnerability, and understanding. At that moment, a siren wailed in the distance, a loud reminder of the world outside their own. The sound made her pulse jump, anxiety flooding her senses. Why is it always chaos? Ella wondered. Just as she thought they were moving toward healing, another hurdle emerged. Mr. Jacobs, she called, her voice slightly trembling but resolute. Is this why we need to help one another? To face the chaos together? He hesitated, looking from the boy to the kids still peeking in fear. What would he say? What if this turned into another closed-door moment? The urgency hung thick in the air, waiting for his response. But before he could speak, the boy blinked up at them, eyes wide and searching. Please don't leave me, he whimpered. Ella felt her heart breaking all over again. Would this moment be the bridge to understanding, or would it be another lesson lost in the noise? As she sat beside him, holding his gaze, she realized they all needed each other more than ever. But could they shake off their fears long enough to truly see? In that uncertain moment, everything hung in the balance. How would they navigate this new wave of chaos? Would Mr. Jacobs find a way to pause for understanding, or would the cycle of misunderstanding continue? Ella's heart raced as she knelt beside the injured boy, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. The chaos around them had morphed into a cacophony of anxiety, but the moment of vulnerability deepened her resolve. In this moment, it wasn't just about Sam or the boy with the broken arm. It was about every child struggling for acceptance, and every adult battling through their own fears. We're here, she murmured, her voice soothing like a gentle wave. You're safe with us. Help is on the way. She caught Jack's eye, and she could see in him a fierce determination, an urge to rally behind the children, to fight for their well-being. Mr. Jacobs stood by, his expression shifting from apprehension to quiet contemplation as he watched the scene unfold. With every tear shed by the children and every word of comfort Ella offered, he seemed to sense the gravity of compassion weighing down on him. A teacher arrived, taking control and assessing the situation with calm authority. Help was finally here. The tension in the air shifted, allowing Ella to exhale slowly, feeling relief wash over her. But just then, as the teacher began to tend to the boy's injury, Ella seized her opportunity to pave a new path. Mr. Jacobs, she began, turning to him, her voice steady now, what we just witnessed is chaos. But it's also the truth of childhood. They need guidance, understanding, and compassion, not punishment. She watched his brow furrow, lost in thought. Just like Sam. We all need a chance to grow, to learn from our mistakes, don't you see? The weight of her words lingered in the air. Jack stepped beside her, his presence a steadfast support. It's about lifting each other up. Instead of cutting down their spirits, let us instill in them the foundation of support. This isn't just about a broken window or a broken arm, it's about their brighter futures. Mr. Jacobs' gaze shifted from Ella to the children, as if he were just beginning to recognize their shared vulnerabilities. It's difficult, he said slowly, to challenge the rules when we're taught to uphold them. His voice wavered as the realization of the bureaucracy he defended suddenly felt less rigid. But sometimes, Jack added, we must redefine what those rules mean for our children. Isn't that why we're here? The conviction in his voice filled the room with strength and momentum. Ella stepped forward, heart swelling with hope. Our children need to know that their mistakes don't define them. Each of these kids deserves our kindness, just like we're showing right now. She glanced at the injured boy, who had calmed under the tender care of the teacher. Let us be the voice that supports them through their chaos rather than punishes them for it. The silence thickened, and Ella could see the wheels turning within Mr. Jacobs' mind. She held her breath, praying he could hear the truth behind her words. Finally, he took a step closer, resolved and with a hint of vulnerability in his eyes. You all make compelling arguments. And I cannot ignore these moments any longer. Good, because every child's story deserves to be heard, Ella replied, her heart fluttering. Let us change the narrative together. He nodded, a newfound respect simmering in his expression. Perhaps we can reevaluate the school's approach to discipline. We owe it to them to create an environment that embraces mistakes and cultivates resilience. A wave of relief washed over Ella as Jack smiled wide, his eyes bright with encouragement. Let us make this happen for all of them. As they resolved to begin anew, Ella felt the fear and doubt slide away, replaced with the warmth of commitment to a better future. The children around them started to disperse, but not before Ella caught a glimpse of the boy. He looked up at her, eyes glistening with gratitude, and it ignited something deep within her, a connection, a profound sense of purpose. Ella turned to Jack, her heart brimming with awe and appreciation. "Thank you," she whispered, aware of the bond forming strong between them, an alliance built on trust and understanding. They had faced chaos together, and now a reckoning awaited them, a chance to carve out a brighter path not just for their children, but for themselves. Hand in hand, Ella and Jack were ready to champion a change. Stepping outside, the sun shone brightly over the school, illuminating a fresh start. With each step forward, they were laying down the bricks of community, and nothing felt more liberating. As they left together, their voices held an urgency. "Let us get this message out there," Jack said, determination settling in his expression. "They need to hear what we're doing, how we are changing lives." Ella nodded, fueled by the realization of their journey together, of what their connection meant. And that was just the beginning, so here's the deal, friends. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach hearts ready for change. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means everything. Comment below and let me know how this story impacted you. Let us keep this momentum going for all the warriors out there fighting their good fights.